Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to have some fun drawing, sketching, coloring, hopefully painting for some of you if you want to go ahead and do that as well. And we're going to be creating this drawing or painting about a beautiful toucan like the one you see right here. Like we always do, we're going to go ahead and get started by using geometric shapes to have an idea of all the sections, forms, and areas within our drawing, within our composition, including the subject and possibly the background as well. As soon as we're done with that part, we can go ahead and move on to adding a little bit of the organic shapes. As you can see, sometimes it's easier if you just erase a little bit those initial sketch lines or geometric shapes before moving on to adding the organic shapes. Once that part is done, it's time to start coloring your artwork. In this case, I would recommend going for mid-tones, like not too dark or not too bright type of tones and shades of the colors that you're going to use. Like mid-tone will help you later on go for a darker area, for some darker areas, and also go for some highlights as well. Another important thing that we'd like to focus on is using strokes that somehow go along with the anatomy and the structure and the forms that we can find in our subject, in this case the bird. If we look at the beak or look at its chest, well, we're going to make sure that we use strokes either with our crayons or colored pencils or markers or paintbrushes, strokes that somehow are going to replicate and help with the idea that it's not just a flat surface. You know, the beak has its structure, and so does the chest, which is feathered, a little more fluffy. So you want to make sure that whatever strokes you use, whatever material you use, the strokes that you're using are also helping out with that idea. And this is definitely one very colorful and detailed beak to work on. I mean, it's just amazing how beautiful these birds are, and their beak is definitely a work of art. So I really had a great time working on the details and making sure that they look as realistic as possible with all the beautiful colors and shades and the bright sides and the dark sides, and it was really a fun thing to do, to work on the beak and of course the eyes too. I mean, this chest and this bird's eyes are just as pretty, as beautiful, and as complex as anything else. You know, you look at it and you see this beautiful bird with so many details to work on. Definitely a fun thing to do. I was looking at some pictures of toucans that I use as a reference for my drawing, for my art, and I couldn't help but noticing that they also have very colorful legs. So here I'm using some of those colors that I noticed in the pictures, like a little bit of green and blue, to add a little bit more of those shades in there, and add some attention and emphasis to this section of my drawing, and at the same time add a little bit of contrast against the overall black tone of their bodies. Once you're happy with the way that you designed, traced, and colored the legs for your toucan, it's time to move on to this branch. I think the most difficult part was actually to get the textures to be more realistic and to make this branch believable, and to actually make it look like the toucan is actually resting on it. There are lots of artists out there who rather work on their subjects and in foreground at the same time they're working on the background. And that's one method, that's one way to do it. In this case, as you can see, I worked on the foreground first to make sure that we get those details done, and now I'm working on the background. It's really up to you. If you usually want to have an overall idea of how everything is looking, and when it comes to the mood and overall colors, then I would suggest working it all at the same time. If not, and just like I did, work on your subject foreground first and moving on to the backgrounds later. And here I'm trying to work with different layers of space and depth. One section is the entire luminosity and blur backgrounds that you see back there, and some of the blur branches that I'm adding, and to add to that depth of field, I'm actually adding this other branch in the front, and that makes you believe, gives you the illusion that we're actually seeing this image in 3D, and that's the whole point. The whole point is that we make the image, which is done on a 2D surface, two-dimensional surface, make it look a little bit more three-dimensional, with 3 dimensions like 3D, and you see some branches in the foreground, and then you see the bird resting, standing on this branch, and then you see another set of images that have to do with the background. So that kind of adds interest to your image, adds this idea of three-dimensionality, and I think that's what we all appreciate when we look at a two-dimensional artwork. The way the artists help us understand and see that even though the surface is just two-dimensional, we can see that there is a trickery, there is some kind of this visual effect and this amazing look and intention to make it look three-dimensional. And that's all for now. I hope you had a good time drawing, coloring, painting, trying your best to draw your own toucan. Keep on trying, keep on learning, try to do your own bird, look at other pictures, look at other birds, and see what else can you do by starting out with the geometric shapes, moving on to the organic shapes, and later on drawing, coloring your artwork, and of course painting it as well. So thank you so much for following along, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.